Parallel Collisions is the title and the conceptual framework of the exhibition.
Parallel Collisions is indeed a kind of ironic and contradictory title.
Parallel lines, of course, cannot meet, but if you add the dimension of time to it, collision becomes possible.
You have the potential for ideas to collide through time. Natasha and I are very interested in curatorship as a form of practice in and of itself. We didn't want to create a thematic show with this biennial. We didn't want to do a survey show that just looked back. We wanted to take risks with the structure of exhibition making.
For example, a year ago we brought 11 of the artists to Adelaide and they were able to spend time in the spaces, spend time with the collection and work out how they really wanted to respond to the environment.
The exhibition is curated across two parallel structures, the elder wing of Australian art, beginning with the history of colonial art, and the temporary galleries of the Art Gallery of South Australia.
So one of them charts the history of colonial art through to modernism, and the other one is a space to intute the contemporary.
And what we wanted to do is bring the two audiences together, those who sit with the collection and those who engage with the contemporaneous, for a series of more complex entanglements. Within this kind of parallel structure of the exhibition, we have 21 artists from around Australia. Of those artists, 16 are presented in the temporary galleries in what we refer to as the tracking shot, a single take through space and time.
Inspired by single track cinema, where you have one way in and one way out, and we used architecture to create edits within the space.
To create for the audience an experience of compression and release, a kind of forward momentum.
And then we have incursion artists that appear only in the elder wing of Australian art.
There are 5 artists in the exhibition from around the country who create incursions. There's a wall painting in the vestibule, there's a sound composition in the elder wing.
And these are the ones that make contact with the history of Australian art from colonialism to modernism.
We also have in that space 7 artists we call the redux. A redux is when something repeats. When you're thinking about time, it's important to see how over time artists excavate certain themes. And so in that way, we've commissioned 7 artists in the exhibition to present a 10-year spectrum of their practices across both platforms. Tim Silver is a young Sydney artist, and we were very excited when we realised he'd never been in the biennial before. Tim is really an important artist of this generation who works with notions of decay. The artist worked with high-level special effects producers to do a full body cast of himself naked, wearing nothing but a hoodie. The cast of the artist is filled with Sally's Timbermate. It's a wood putty used for repairing floors. And what Tim does is he takes his full body cast, he fills it with the Timbermate, and then he puts it in the freezer. The body solidifies. He then brings the 130 kilograms of Timbermate in the cast down to the gallery. Throughout the duration of the show, the moisture evaporates from the body, and what happens is the body begins to dry out and decay. It eventually becomes dust. And it's a profoundly moving work. When you think about time, it's hard to avoid the inexorable and inevitable forces of death.
Pat Brassington is one of Australia's most senior photomedia artists. She uses collage and digital tools to bring an uncanny sensibility to her images. She's interested in the enigmatic, in the uncanny, the use of horror to create a really unusual and unsettling and often humorous sensibility.
Jonathan Jones is an Indigenous artist from northern New South Wales. Downstairs in the tracking shot, Jonathan worked with a team of researchers to identify a fallen Red River gum, and he's cut it into sections and brought it into the gallery where he's covered it in white ochre, the ochre that his own people use for ceremony. The tree has been excavated from underneath and filled with light. Light is absolutely critical to Jonathan's practice. For him, it is the thing that illuminates hope, but also brings into clarity the kind of complexities of reconciliation.
Dan Crook's work, The Garden of Parallel Paths, is poetry in motion. Dan is really interested in time as a malleable material. He's filmed the laneways of Melbourne and the pathways, and he's edited them together and sliced them, and it becomes this staccato landscape.
Marco Fusionato is Australia's leading noise artist, and I don't mean sound, I mean noise. Big, fat, white noise. And for parallel collisions, Marco has created a breakthrough commission called Empirical Distortion. It's 7 foot high, made of fluorescent tubes. You walk into the space and through making a sound like a clap, you completely prompt this immersion in white noise and sound and light. The numbers represent the amount of dying stars each day, the consumption of fuel, the number of people who are born or die in each particular 24-hour cycle. These statistics are presented as a kind of truth, as a form of evidence, but their origins are spurious. And Marco wants to cast into doubt the way that we see numbers as a form of truth-making.
Alexie and I have always worked together. We haven't thought of ourselves as two different people.
Natasha is a curator based in Sydney, but she's originally from Melbourne. I'm a curator based in Melbourne, but originally from Sydney. We've never lived in the same city, but we both share a strong ongoing interest in art's capacity to move the audience.
We share an email account. We've responded to all correspondence together. Our decisions have been in unison. So really this exhibition is the sum of our collaboration.